Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. So I've got some toddler hacks to share with you. Tips, tricks for you and your toddler, maybe to make your day, morning, life go a bit smoother sometimes. I'm not saying these are perfect, I'm not even saying that I do them all the time, but I do find that when I do a lot of these things, my day does go a bit smoother. So if you are new and you don't know already, firstly, I'm Helen and my son is 2 years and basically, coming on 2 years and 10 months old. So almost at 3 now, and I've been meaning to film my toddler hacks for a little while. As we know, the toddler stage is hard. It's hard for them and it's hard for us as well, but they're going through a lot of development and they're learning to be independent, but they don't quite know that they can't be with everything yet. It is a hard stage, so hopefully some of these hacks will help you along the way, even if it's just to make a little part of your day run a bit smoother or a bit quicker or a bit easier. So I'm going to cover things like teeth brushing, routines, keeping them entertained, lots of different things. So let's get into the toddler hacks. So the first toddler hack is probably quite a basic one, but I think it's one that we tend to forget or ignore, and that is to get ready the night before. I think we all know this, but it's just having that motivation sometimes when we're tired on a night time. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, I can't be bothered, and then I really regret it the next day if I haven't got things ready. So definitely, even if you manage to do it a bit earlier on in the day, like not leaving it too late where you're too tired and just not feeling up to it, but get things like the changing bag ready, make sure everything's in there, your nappies, your wipes, a change of clothes, whatever else you take. Make sure you get your toddler's clothes out. I also even get my clothes out, including my underwear. I literally get everything out, laid out exactly, the order in which I'm going to be using these things. And it honestly just does save so much time, because I think sometimes at night time I think, oh, it won't save that much time, it's just a few minutes. And then in the morning I think, no, it would have saved quite a lot of time actually. But yeah, definitely try and get ready the night before. Toddler hack number 2 is having a snack bag and taking snacks with you everywhere. And again, this is something you could get ready the night before, so whether that is like pre-packaged snacks, like some puffs or a bar or something, but I like cut up some bits of cucumber for Arthur, some cheese because they are his favourite foods. And I just think it's really useful because sometimes when you go out, you might end up being out longer than you need to be. They might get hungry or they might need entertaining, distracting, whether they are, with you shopping or whether you're in the car together. And yeah, just having snacks with you all the time is definitely like a must. I've recently filmed, or a few months ago, I filmed what's in my toddler bag, and I think I spoke about snacks there, but snacks are basically kind of the answer and solution to a lot of things actually with a toddler. So yes, that's definitely a hack. Hack number 3, or tip really, is to make sure that you've got some spare wipes in your car, as in wet wipes. I always take some in my change bag anyway, but I just always think, if for some reason I run out, or say I do forget, or say they fall out, I've always got some in the car. Wipes are so handy, not just for changing bottoms, but for wiping hands, if he gets muddy, if he gets something on his clothes. Wipes are just a must-have. I know they're not very environmentally friendly, but you can obviously get biodegradable ones and stuff. But yeah, honestly, they are just a bit of a lifesaver. So make sure that you've got excess, make sure that you've got like an emergency supply in your car. Also, if you're going out and you're using your changing bag, you don't want to take like a really thick pack of wipes with you, so just decant them. I think I spoke about this in another video, but you can just put some in a Ziploc bag and they will retain their moisture. Another toddler hack is to have a freezer stash of food. So whether that is, you've saved leftovers and you've frozen it, or like I make pancakes all the time and then I freeze them, and just having also easy food in the freezer. So even if it's not like things you've made yourself, but just like having things in the freezer that you can just easily give out, heat up and give to them, or even if it's not in the freezer, but like food that is quick and easy, because we do need that sometimes. Save your leftovers, and then that's also like a quick, simple, easy lunch is ready for you for the next day. And also, I find this is actually random, but I will say it, of just having a bag of mixed veg. We prefer really getting like fresh vegetables, but a bag of mixed vegetables, you've got a few different in there. You just bung it in a saucepan and it just takes a few minutes. That's really easy. My next toddler hack is related to nappy changing. Now, if you are doing it stood up, and again, obviously, if you're potty trained, then this won't apply to you anyway. But if they're stood up, it's quite tricky sometimes to get the nappy on. If you're using pull-ups, that's fine. Artie doesn't really like pull-ups. I think we might try them again soon. But last time he just really hated, I don't know, just hated having them on basically. But yeah, if you're just using the traditional nappies, if you kind of like use you like to change them, so change them against you, like their backs to you, so that like their back will hold the back of the nappy in place. I don't know if I'm explaining it, but yeah, just like hold them and that'll help you to like do up the nappy. Also, you may remember a hack that I think we probably all know. When they're babies, people say about like, you know, using the bodysuit to keep their arms in place. I'm not even sure if I ever did it with Arthur. But what I have learned with Arthur, when I am changing his nappy stood up, if he is wearing a bodysuit, it does just get in the way. It's really, really difficult, especially because he doesn't really want to keep still either. So what I do now, I actually bring the bodysuit up, like, you know, both the front and back, and then just use the poppers of it and just like pull it over his shoulder, and it does up and it stays out of the way while I'm changing his nappy. I would definitely say that life is a bit easier as well when you involve them in whatever it is you're doing. So that's my next toddler hack really, you know, things like washing and dressing, just kind of letting them and encouraging them do things, because actually they want to be independent, and this stage is difficult because of that in a way, and because maybe they want to do things and they can't, but you know, just letting them doing it, obviously helping them if they need to, but I think that makes them want to do tasks more if they know that they can do a bit as well. My next toddler hack is making sure that you keep a supply of toys and books in your car. So you should see our car, it's a bit of a mess actually, and you could definitely buy some sort of like storage organisational system in your car to kind of keep it all together, but definitely just keep lots in there. So we've always got loads of different books. Toys, you can buy these like drawing boards, Arthur really likes those. We've also got one of those, I don't know what they call it, it's like a toy, I like, you know, they press, I think it's got 5 like buttons and it pops up. It's kind of like a toy which you would give probably a much younger child, but it's something that's quite safe in the car, because obviously you don't want them playing with anything that could be a choking hazard or that is too heavy or whatever, you know, that could potentially hurt them. So yeah, this one, it's quite big, but he just loves it and he'll just play with that for ages. Finger puppets, he really likes in the car. But again, because car journeys can get very boring for them, especially if you get caught in traffic and your journey is much longer than you needed it to be, just keeping them entertained, so having lots of stuff in your car at all times. Another toddler hack which is kind of quite similar to that, and I think I spoke about this in my change of bag video, is just kind of keeping like a bag or something with you, you know, so in the change of bag, like what I do. So I just have things like paper and some crayons, some stickers, a couple of little toys. I also have a couple of small books in my change of bag as well. It's kind of like, I guess, like a busy bag. It's just something, so if I ever needed to be somewhere, take Arthur somewhere and I wasn't prepared for it as such, and like he gets bored, you know, if I've got this kind of little collection of things, at least it's something to try and keep him entertained. Now the next thing I guess is more of a tip, but that is to buy toys that are a bit older for them. So you know, toys will say suitable for the ages 4, and often I think that is related to choking hazards. A lot of toys do say 0 to 3. It's a no, but that's because of choking hazards. So obviously take all of that into consideration. But I mean, apart from that, I definitely buy toys, not all the time, but you know, sometimes that are just a little bit like older than him, than what it says, because I think it just really helps them to develop. I mean, obviously you don't want to buy them something that they just like completely don't understand, because that's just going to cause more frustration, but I just think buying something that they can like then learn the skills to do, rather than just buying things that you know they can already play with, if that makes sense at all. So when Arthur was a bit of a younger toddler, something that was really helpful was to have a kitchen drawer. So like it was a low one that he could access. You could have a cupboard as well, but just put lots of things in there which you were happy for them to pull out and play with. So it might be, I think ours, we had like Tupperware, there was a colander, there was some like cookie cutters in there. So we just had this one like quite big drawer, and he would just like pull everything out, make a complete mess, but it didn't really matter because it was just keeping him occupied. So that is definitely a really, really good tip. Another toddler or kind of child hack in general really, but is definitely to take advantage of a lot of offers that supermarkets have where kids eat free or kids eat for £1. Like I think Asda do kids eat for £1 like all the time, and especially in school holidays you'll find a lot of supermarkets and shops will do it as well. And so if you need to take your child out, or you want to take your child out for a meal but you know it's going to be a bit costly, then definitely just have a little Google and see what you've got in your local area, what shops are offering it. But yeah, I think Asda do it all year round. So I don't know about you, but shopping with a toddler can be quite difficult, because obviously they just want to be running around, they want to like grab everything. You know, if Arthur is like walking, he'll just like want to put things in the trolley or the basket. He does sometimes go in the trolley still, which he does enjoy. Not so much the pram recently, but I think he's probably getting a bit big for the trolley now. But it's just to kind of, one, like as I said before, take snacks and drinks with you, so they've got that going around to distract them. Also maybe take like a toy or a book from home. But if you're going somewhere, firstly know what you're going to get and just like don't dawdle really, isn't it? Just like, you know, go in, get what you want and leave again. But the first thing you could do when you go into a shop is just pick up something and let them play with it. So if you are going into a shop where there are toys, obviously it could be a toy, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be something random, but just something that they can kind of like fiddle with, and then that'll keep them distracted. We don't buy magazines for Arthur very often at all. I think kind of really the only time is when we're going on holiday and it's like a long car journey, but we have bought him the occasional one. But if you are a magazine buyer, or you will consider it, because they are quite expensive, very expensive, we bought one once for Arthur just when we got into a shop, and it literally, like he was playing with a toy in it, it literally kept him occupied the whole way around, and then like a lot of the journey after as well. He loved it. So if you want to consider that, as I said, it is a bit expensive, but if you're going to buy one anyway, then yeah, buy it straight away, and then again, hopefully that'll keep them occupied. I feel like a lot of these hacks and tips are about keeping them occupied and distracted, but I think, I don't know, they're just because they want to be busy all the time, don't they? They want to be involved. So yeah, it's just finding ways of keeping them entertained really. My next toddler hack is related to eating. Now, I may do a separate video at some point kind of about fussy eaters. I don't really like that term, picky eaters, I don't know if I like any of those terms really, but you know what I mean, because I think that's like a whole other subject that probably needs a whole video. But something which I do for Arthur, if he doesn't want to eat tea, or he says he doesn't like it, sometimes he says that even though we know it's something he likes, or he just wants to get out of the high chair, like he's not interested, rather than like offering an alternative straight away, what I do quite recently is actually offer him what I call supper, just a bit later on, but you kind of just need to leave a gap like sufficient enough so they don't feel it's just you like offering a different option for tea. It's actually you're just saying, no, you know, that was your tea, but now this is supper, if that makes sense. I used to have supper when I was younger anyway. It was like a bowl of cereal, not to do with me eating tea or not, but I just remember having it. But yeah, Arthur sometimes does well with that. But yeah, I may do a video about sort of fussy eating as well. So I think a really big topic around this age, kind of around like the 2-year mark, I think is their behaviour, because obviously you will hear a lot of people talking about tantrums, and obviously they are going through a lot at this stage. You know, as I said earlier, they want to be independent, they want to do everything, but they can't quite do it, and they don't understand why, or they don't understand why they can't do things, they don't understand if something might not be safe for them. So it's a very tough time for them, and I think like firstly it is remembering that. So it might feel tough for us because it is, but it's also tough for them as well. But when Arthur is upset, you know, they get upset about things which might seem really, really trivial to us, but for them it genuinely is upsetting. You know, they are actually upset if you give them the wrong colour cup. You know, they wanted the red one, you gave them the blue one, or whatever, or you cut their toast up, they didn't want it cut up. It's something very small, but to them it is quite a big deal. So I do always ask, you know, Arthur, does he want his toast cut up, for example, because I learned that a long time ago. But yeah, if they are upset about something, it's kind of just acknowledging their emotion. So I will say things like, oh, you're upset because you didn't want your toast that way, or you're upset because I did this, or you did that. And I think even just saying that, it kind of like flicks a switch in your head as well, because it feels nicer to them. Because I always think of it as like, if the child is upset, if you're upset, if I was upset and somebody was saying to me, you know, don't cry, or, you know, don't be silly, that, you know, it's just a cup or whatever, that's not very nice. So saying that to your child isn't going to make them feel better. That's probably just going to frustrate them even more. So just acknowledging how they are feeling, I think, is the first step. And yeah, as I said, that also kind of flicks a switch in your own head, because then you kind of, you're more empathetic and you're sympathising with them rather than just like ignoring it. And then also sometimes you can go a step further by saying, you know, oh, I know, you know, it's not nice, you know, it is upsetting, you know, or like mummy would be upset, or I would be upset if I wanted something, I couldn't have it. And just that understanding, I think, again, that kind of brings, if you feel yourself getting like frustrated, just you acknowledging it to them, but it's also, you're kind of like saying it to yourself as well. And I think that kind of like makes you calm and makes you more understanding. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like me just saying that to Arthur does really help, I think. And just remember that it is a big deal for them, even if it doesn't seem it to you. My next toddler hack is to do with washing hands. So sometimes Arthur will not want to wash hands, but there are two things which seem to help and which he quite likes. Actually three, I'll say that the other one was a bit random. But yeah, firstly is having a step stool. I talked about this in my toddler essentials video, like must-haves video. Having a step stool he absolutely loves because it means he can reach things. Again, it's that like independent thing. He loves seeing what's going on and helping, and he can get his little stool and like step on it and wash his hands and whatever. So that's really good. The random one I was going to say is actually having an interest in hand wash. It's not really a hack really. And the next kind of tip for washing hands, especially if they don't like going to the sink, is getting a bowl of warm water, putting some hand wash in there, you know, getting some nice soapy warm water in there, and just letting them wash their hands in that instead. So it also might be like after a meal, you might think, rather than like wiping them, which kind of can be a bit like, it's not very nice for them, they really like being wiped over, who does? But just bringing a nice bowl of water is quite fun. And then the last toddler hack or hacks I suppose really, are related to brushing teeth, and I don't think I'm alone in having this issue. We don't really have it anymore, but yeah, Arthur was really reluctant to have his teeth brushed. In fact, he wouldn't really, he literally would just clamp his mouth shut, we couldn't do anything, and for ages he wouldn't even put the toothbrush in. So I'm just going to talk you through kind of what worked for us and what got us to where we are now with it, which is pretty good I think. And also some other ideas. So obviously some of these will work for you, some of them won't. Obviously some of them haven't worked for us, but then they have worked for other people because I've asked, or I've like Googled it, I'm sure you have, you know, watched videos, I've asked on Facebook groups, and I've got like loads of suggestions which I wrote in my notes ages ago. So I'm just going to go through them and to say, yeah, so Arthur, as I said, he wouldn't want his teeth brushed at all. I know some people say just like kind of pin them down, because even that, doing that like 2 minutes twice a day is better than having them have work done to their teeth, because obviously that would be extremely traumatic. But for me, I mean, okay, fair enough, you know, it's up to you, but I just think I wanted to keep quite calm with it, because I feel like when you become stressed, or like, you know, you can feel yourself getting like frustrated because they're not brushing their teeth and you know how important it is, I think they do pick up on it, and I think sometimes that makes them even more like they want to stand their ground even more, which isn't ideal. So if you can, just try and keep it calm and positive. But anyway, yeah, let's get into like the tips. So the first thing that worked for us is to have interest in toothbrushes. So we had some flashing toothbrushes. We actually got one quite recently actually as well, just because. But yeah, I think that was the first thing that got him like interested, because it was exciting. You can get them in, I think it's like Home Bargains and B&M. I don't know how good they are at brushing teeth, because they're like, you know, all the bristles are the same height sort of thing. But you know, that might just get them interested. So that is the first thing that worked for us. He still wouldn't let us do it for him really, but he would at least put that in his mouth, and we were just thinking at least that is like a bit of toothpaste. So that's the first thing. You could also try an electric toothbrush. So again, that might be something different. It's fun, they might like it. You can also get a U-shaped toothbrush, which is literally U-shaped like that, and it goes in like that. Apparently though, I have seen people say that's not actually that great. However, if it's better than nothing, then maybe it is worth a try. You can also get ones on your fingertip, which I think is what we started off doing. It's like made of silicone, and it's about that big, like it sits on your finger, and it's got kind of like, it's not bristles as such, it's kind of like little lumps really, but yeah, that's kind of like to massage them. It's for babies really, as I'm sure you may already be aware, but again, it's kind of just getting in there. It's better than nothing. You can get a bit of toothpaste on there, better than nothing at all. Also just try like your finger without anything on. Another thing that I tried with Arthur ages ago was, you know, oh, I'll brush your teeth and you can brush mine kind of thing. He didn't really have my teeth out with that. So like, be careful if they're like kind of like jabbing you in the face or your mouth with a hard toothbrush, but that's another one too. You can also get them to look in the mirror so they can see what you're doing or what they're doing. Also maybe try doing it in different rooms. We kind of get him dressed and do his teeth in the bedroom next door, which obviously eventually will be his own bedroom. Yeah, but maybe change the location, you know, so that it's a bit more like comfortable. Another tip that people said, which I think I only asked Arthur once and he said no, so I didn't do it, is to brush their teeth in the bath. So if they like the bath, you know, and also they're already playing with water, maybe that might help as well. Again, you don't want to like make it too traumatic though, so if they say no, then, you know, don't worry and just carry on doing it wherever you're doing it, but especially if they like the bath, because you don't want them to be put off the bath. You could also do things like, I would say, oh look, I'm going to brush like, you know, a character in a book, so I would like brush the book. We have got a few books with toothpaste on, like brush the book, I'm going to brush like his teeth, I'm going to brush their teeth, or, you know, get some like animals or like a doll and say I'm going to brush their teeth, now I'm going to brush yours, or get them to do it, you know, can you brush your baby's teeth? Oh, you're going to brush yours now. That did help actually. I mean, it's quite hard for me to think back, so obviously it's been quite a while now, but yeah, I think that definitely did help. Sorry, my camera cut out then, but what I was saying is I think that did work. So I might say to Arthur, so you can say things like, are you going to brush your doll's teeth? Now you can brush yours. But yeah, you can let them do it, you can do it yourself, try it all really, it's whatever works, literally whatever can work. And another thing which I was going to say is, I found that sometimes things would work for a while and then they would stop working, so then I would have to try something else which would work, and then that would start working after a while, and then I'd have to try something else or maybe go back to the other thing because it just wouldn't like continuously work. So yeah, maybe like keep trying, and if something hasn't worked before, try it again, or if it stopped working, try it again, and hopefully you'll find something. You could also brush other parts of their body, so you could say, oh, you know, oh, I'm going to brush your toes now, I'm going to brush your elbow now I'm going to brush your teeth. You could try that too. You could also search for, which kind of, I quite liked this, where you kind of like search for animals in their teeth or in their mouths. So you say, oh, you know, I'm going to get that dinosaur, or I'm going to get that monster now. That was quite a good one for us. You could say things like, oh, you know, I'm going to get the raspberries out of your teeth now. Things like search for things in their mouth. You could even try a different toothpaste. So we use mint, we always have used mint, but you can also get fruit toothpaste as well. So, you know, if you think it is more that like a sensory thing about the actual taste of it, then you could try a different flavour of toothpaste. You could try and keep it quite fun, do a bit of singing and dancing with it maybe. I know some people say, oh, you know, like tickle them and then like get them and put their head back and brush it like that, but yeah, I never felt comfortable doing that, but some people did say that to me. And then really what has worked with us finally, so as I said, so we did manage to do little bits, but it was very sporadic, it wasn't for very long, we definitely weren't getting like 2 minutes brushing time in at all. We would just like be able to do a bit as well. But yeah, eventually he would, as I said, he would stop clamping his mouth, so the first step was would let us get the toothbrush in, or he would at least put it in for a little bit. He sometimes would have the toothbrush and then I would try and like move his hand a little bit to get the teeth. That's kind of how it started off, and it did develop, it did improve with a few of those things, as I said, like brushing characters in a book like Thomas the Tank Engine, who doesn't even have teeth. But you know, again, whatever works. So we did that, and then eventually we're like, right, you know, it's still not really enough. So our last resort, and this might not be a last resort for you, but our last resort was using screen time. So firstly, we did try YouTube. There are brushing teeth songs and timers as well, but he wasn't really interested in that, to be honest with you. It was only when we started putting on other things, which is kind of what we wanted to avoid, because there was a period of time when we were giving him like bits of screen time on our phones, like YouTube. We used to hate being in the car and stuff, but you got really reliant on it, so that's kind of why we're a bit reluctant to go back to putting on YouTube. But that has kind of been the last step really, what's helped us like do a full brush of his teeth. So we do still cap it, so maybe it's like 3 minutes or so. So we might find a song, whatever it is. It might be like, there's Bounce Patrol, which are great. It might be a finger puppet song, it might be a nursery rhyme, whatever you can find, just like a song. And then like, you know, firstly he kind of wouldn't let us do it, and then I said, oh, I'm going to turn it off now if you don't let me do your teeth, and then he would let me do it. And he opens his mouth, and again, I can't remember, but I know there's definitely a point where he wouldn't really like open his mouth that wide, but as he's got older, obviously his understanding has improved, and just as he's been getting used to it, presumably he will now open his mouth, and I can like do everywhere, you know, and I can say open it, you know, now do that face, and spit, obviously encourage them to spit out as well. And yeah, so we're in a very good position. I do also encourage him to try and do it, and actually he's a bit better now than he used to be at like physically, like being able to brush, because sometimes he'd be doing it in the very beginning before he would let us do it, and he just had it, he would be like moving it, but like you couldn't hear the bristles on his teeth, so you know, so he wasn't doing it right. The toothbrush was probably like more by his tongue, if you know what I mean. And then obviously also just modelling, so let them see you do your teeth. So I used to do that as well, where I would have him like on my knee in the bathroom, and I'd say, right, you do yours and I'm gonna do mine now, and we just like do ours at the same time. So I think that is everything on my list of ways to do it. So as I said, yeah, eventually we tried a few of those, and it did all do things, but like the thing that made us completely brush his teeth really well is watching YouTube. But whether that would have done it from the very beginning, I'm not sure. But just try it. There's a lot of things there. If you know any more, leave them in the comments below, but just know you aren't alone, and I think it's really, really common that they don't want to brush their teeth, and it can be very stressful because we all know how important it is. But yeah, there's lots of ideas there, and hopefully you'll find something new in that list and something that works for you. But keep going, and good luck with the teeth brushing. So those are all my toddler hacks. There's a lot in that video. I'm sure there are more as well. If you've got any like amazing toddler hacks, let me know in the comments below. If you've got any other tips, let me know if you found this video helpful. I really hope you did. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe if you are new. I would love to have you here, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.